Thanks for staying with us. It's time now to go to the newspapers and see what the headlines are saying on some of our national dailies. We're being joined this morning by Mr. Nick Agule, public affairs analyst, joining us from the UK. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning to our viewers globally.
Yeah. Okay, this morning we're starting with the Business NG, and I'm going to your primary constitution, as it were, the oil sector. NNPCL declares state of emergency on crude oil production. I'd like your comment on that. What does that mean, actually, and what will it do to the production of crude?
It means nothing. Absolutely nothing. The NNPC should stop coming to the press to be making statements. They should simply deliver on the mandate that they have. They have a mandate to run Nigeria's oil company business. A lot of people don't know that NNPC is a business. NNPC is a business just like Shell is a business, Mobil is a business, Total is a business. You never hear Shell or Mobil or Chevron come on news and be saying we have declared a state of emergency in our production, we have done the, no, they are quietly producing crude oil and refining crude oil in some refineries around the world and delivering value to their shareholders. But the NNPC comes on air and be making these noises. I'm surprised that journalists did not ask him what has happened to his Port Harcourt refinery, where back in December last year, he went and with fanfare and pomp and pageantry said mechanical completion was done. And they staged a huge ceremony, and we're in July now of the following year, and nothing has happened. That refinery has not brought out a single barrel of crude oil. You see, we cannot continue doing the same thing and expecting different results. The NNPC, as a government-run business, has not delivered value to Nigerians, who are the shareholders for a long time. And these are the areas that we had expected that President Tinubu was going to take decisive action upon. Because President Tinubu, as we say, is perhaps Nigeria's first private sector president who came from the private sector. And he should understand what running a business is. You know, so we have this humongous behemoth called the NNPC. Crude oil, they are not producing. Refined petrol in your four refineries, that is not happening. But they are surviving on a crude oil that is produced on behalf of Nigeria by the international oil companies. They take that crude oil, sell it, make money, pay themselves big salaries and bonuses, and it's only the balance that they put back in the federation account, something that shouldn't happen. So for me, in summary, I am going to say NNPC should go and deliver value. We don't want to hear press conferences. If you cast your mind back, this is the way NITEL used to make press conferences in the past, and yet we didn't see telephones. And when that sector was taken into the private sector, we don't hear MTN, Airtel, or Nine Mobile or Glo come on air and be saying we are declaring a state of emergency in the telecom sector. No. Every day we wake up, we switch on our phone is working. They are quietly delivering value for their shareholders and for the customers. That's what the NNPC need to do. We're tired of hearing these news conferences.
Well, you said that the president came from the private sector, and then you also said you cannot keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. Perhaps now that we know that he is the minister of petroleum, because that is what it is, he is the minister just like Buhari was, maybe this is the new thing that he has brought to make sure that production in that, or the value that they're supposed to give to us is higher. So why would you say it is nothing? Because this is something different from what they have been doing.
There's absolutely nothing different. First and foremost, let us talk about the portfolio that you have mentioned. What is the big deal about the petroleum ministerial portfolio that successive presidents in Nigeria don't want to let it go into the hands of someone to run it and be focused on it. So that number one is one thing that President Tinubu has not done differently. Why is he hijacking the petroleum portfolio? He is a busy man already. And why would he therefore sit on top of perhaps the most important portfolio in Nigeria's economy today? Because I can tell you that there are a lot of files on his table waiting for his consideration as minister. But he is president, and he is having to, well, I don't need to describe his day-to-day role, but we know he's busy. So he should have not done that. He should have departed from that tradition by handing over this portfolio to a competent, well-qualified, and business-oriented Nigerian who has a pedigree in the oil industry to run this ministry and be coming to him for decision-making and signatures. So that's number one. Number two, President Tinubu has touched on every other important institution in Nigeria. The FIRS, he changed the leadership. The customs, he changed the leadership. The central bank, he changed the leadership, and so on and so forth. But he left the leadership of the NNPC intact. How is that doing something differently? The leadership of the NNPC that has not delivered value, that frequently let Nigerians go and queue up at petrol stations with fuel scarcity, that has hiked the price of petrol from about 100 and something to 700 now. Some people buying 1,000 naira, whose refineries are dead, and their upstream sector for the production of crude oil is doing nothing. And President Tinubu has let the leadership of the NNPC intact. How does that change anything? Changing the name from NNPC to NNPCL does not mean anything. Okay, so these are the issues. Number one, first issue is the inefficiencies in the system. So the NNPC as a business is being run inefficiently in the way government runs in Nigeria. And that needs to change. That hasn't changed. And then funding. Nigerian government does not have the funding. Nigerian government is borrowing to even pay salaries. So what President Tinubu needed to do was to let the NNPC into the private sector, either through outright privatization or commercialization or even incorporated joint venture, to allow private sector funding to come into that company so that the company can do a lot of work. That has not happened. And then thirdly, we're talking about the little crude that is produced. It's stolen. As we speak today, there are people who have connected pipes and are stealing Nigeria's crude oil. What has President Tinubu done about it? So I can't see anything that the president is doing differently. And that's why I say he cannot be expecting different results.
Okay. So let's go to another issue. The same newspaper, which is Business NG. We have CBN to sanction banks rejecting old and lower dollar denominations. That's a headline there, and I don't know why it's making the headlines anyway.
Did you say old dollar?
Yes, old and lower dollar denominations. Banks are rejecting them.
The issuing body for the dollar is the Federal Reserve, which is the central bank of the United States of America. Mm-hmm. And for so long as that issuing body, issuing authority, has not declared any of their currencies as not being legal tender, then the banks have a responsibility to take them. There's absolutely no reason for them not to do that, because the banks have to join the CBN in the monetary policies that will help the value of the naira in Nigeria. And if the CBN is encouraging people to bring their dollars into the banking system, then the banks are expected to join hands with the CBN and to make that happen. I can imagine the reason why the banks are rejecting those notes is because it costs them a lot of money to process it. You have to employ somebody, put them on the counter, they count the notes, and then they safely bank it, and then they self custody and all of that, and it's just a dollar bill. Yeah, and that to them will be a pain. But I want to say that the banks in Nigeria, they are very shallow. They like to take our money, but they don't want to offer us any service. You go to banks today, all the ATMs, almost all the ATMs with banks today are no longer having cash inside, because they want us to go and pay money at POS before we get Naira out. So instead of them to spend money to employ people to be putting notes in the ATMs and all of that, they don't want to do that. But they keep debiting our accounts every month for no service provided. And that's why the banks are some of the most profitable entities in Nigeria. Even during the COVID time, they were making profit. Till today, they are making profit. So the CBN is a regulator. They are like a referee in the game of banking. They have a yellow card, they have a red card. They should use it. Because like if you look at the current Euros that are going on, if a referee has a yellow card and red card and the players know that he can never use it, then they are never going to obey him. They are never going to do well on the field of play. So I think if the CBN should sanction some of those banks, the message will be passed clearly that they have to do what they are expected to do, instead of coming to give us press conferences.
Well, I thought that was going to even discourage people from using the dollar too much. I don't know, because I don't understand these things as much as maybe I should. But we're so worried about what is happening to the currency of another nation that it gives me concern. But some people have said that the rising U.S. yields put pressure on the Nigerian naira, but that is not the case I want to look at now. Insurgency is what I want to look at. Top left corner of that same Business NG. The insurgency sack all appointees in security sector, reps tell Tinubu. Will this be a solution to the problem we have in security?
Before I answer your question on security, let me just say that, based on your last statement before we went to security, why are we so concerned? Why are we bothered about the dollar? The reason is that we have boxed ourselves into a corner where the dollar now becomes like the king that we have to worship, that we have to handle carefully. Because as we speak today, we need the dollar to buy petroleum products. Otherwise, there will be fuel scarcity. We need the dollar to buy food. We need the dollar to buy pharmaceuticals. We need the dollar to buy cars, to buy machinery, to even buy raw materials into some of our industries. We need the dollar to pay school fees abroad, medical, travel. So we have decided that we are just going to be a consumer nation. And to consume, we need to get the dollar. And that's the problem. If Nigeria gradually and steadily, like in this 1 year of this current administration, we're taking fundamental steps like increasing power supply, privatizing the steel sector, privatizing the gas sector, and the railways and all of that, those kind of areas that will boost the economy, the productive base of the economy. Then if we are producing everything that we need, if the dollar it can go to hell, it doesn't bother us. Because we are doing our own food, we are doing our own petrol, we are doing our own pharmaceuticals and all of that. We're doing our own cars and all of that. But we're not doing that. So that's why the dollar has become a king in the light of our own economy. Now coming to security, yes, I agree with the reps. You see, just like the analogy I made of a referee with a yellow and a red card. The reason he has those two cards in his pocket is to serve as a deterrent to players on the pitch that if you do something wrong, I will show you a yellow, and a yellow again, you are gone. Or if I show you a straight red, you are gone. And you will see 22 players on the field. They will try and contain themselves and behave well. But from time to time, you will see a few of them do wrong things, and the other players see them issue yellow cards. Sometimes they issue them red cards, and that is what makes the game of football to go. If you can imagine, Nyambo, that the players know that the referee will never pull out that card. Look, there will be Mike Tyson versus Fury in the football pitches. So this is what President Tinubu needs to do. He has the executive powers to superintend over the security agencies in Nigeria. And for me, I have always said these things. Say, for instance, there is kidnapping in a state. First, the commissioner of police in that state should go. The DSS, the head of the DSS in that state should go. The head of civil defense should go, because it was their duty to prevent that attack from happening through intelligence gathering. And even as the attack happened, how can you come and carry 300 children and the security agencies will say we don't know where they took them? You know what 300 means? So, so far the president is not wielding the stick. Perhaps he's wielding a carrot, but he's not wielding a stick. And until we let public officials in Nigeria face the consequences for their action, we're not going to get the best results from them. It never happens anywhere in the world where public officials know that they can, carry on any type of ignominy in office and nothing will happen to them, and you expect good governance from them. So President Tinubu so far has not shown any much difference. When something happens, he just comes and says, I condemn it. Like the recent Borno bombings. He said President Tinubu condemned. No, President Tinubu should not be condemning it. President Tinubu should be sacking the heads of the security in that state for not thwarting what had happened. That's the only way we're going to have a good country that we can all enjoy.
Okay, on the Punch newspaper, a small headline below there has it that Dangote decries high interest rates, seeks government intervention. In other newspapers, he said that it's hard to to create jobs with the kind of interest rate that we have, and virtually all the papers carried it, that the interest rate is something really worrisome for production in Nigeria. I'd like your comment.
He's very correct. Dangote is a businessman, so he's the one that is feeling the pinch of these interest rate hikes. We have always said this thing. The central bank in Nigeria, they know. So if you read the minutes of the monetary policy committees of the central bank, the members of the committee are fully aware that Nigeria's inflation is mostly caused by cost push factors, and yet they will increase interest rates, and basic economics portrays that you don't fight a cost push inflation with interest rate hikes. Instead, you deal with the causative factors for why those costs are escalating. The inflation that you fight with interest, you effectively fight with interest rate hikes, is demand pull inflation. And that's inflation where there's so much money in the economy, which is chasing fewer goods, and there's inflation. And you say in this Nigeria, where is there so much money in the economy? Even at the minimum wage of 30,000, which a lot of Nigerians are not even earning. How much is that? But the inflation is caused by increases in fuel price, increases in the cost of the dollar, increases in all sorts of levies and taxation and all of that businesses are facing, and all that, and the increases in electricity tariff, all that is what is making cost of goods and services to rise. And then, of course, insecurity. If you talk about food, and then places where there is no insecurity, the lack of mechanization, you're expecting farmers to use their manual labor to cultivate enough food to feed 200 million people. It's a pipe dream. Can't happen. We need machines on those farms, and the machines are not that. So these are the factors. But unfortunately, the CBN, after recognizing that these are the causes of inflation in Nigeria, will go ahead and increase the interest rate. And when you increase the interest rate, it then means that the borrowing cost of businesses goes higher. And that means the businesses will transfer the additional cost of borrowing into the prices of goods and services, which in itself is inflationary again. So I think the central bank needs to sit back and say, look, is this the right way to approach inflation in Nigeria? Because if you look at it, they have been increasing interest rates since, but the inflation has refused to come down. Is that not a testament to the fact that interest rate increase is not a solution? If it was a solution, the illness would have been resolving by now, but it's not.
Well, this next headline, when I saw it, I kind of laughed. Maybe you'll have a different opinion to it. Federal government directs MDAs to patronize made in Nigeria goods. Maybe that is the way to go to make sure that we're a productive nation rather than a consumptive nation, as we've been saying all this while. But do you think this is a step that shows that the government is working towards encouraging productivity within the country?
In a statement is one thing, and implementing that statement is another thing. We have heard this thing before. It has happened. I mean, Nigeria is where officials just come up and make statements. Like each Inspector General of Police, when they take office, they make a statement that roadblocks are banned, no more roadblocks. And they go and sit down and roadblocks continue until their tenure ends. So we have heard this kind of a statement before, that government departments should patronize locally manufactured or produced goods and services. But the implementation is the problem. You know, this statement was made before National Assembly went and bought Toyota cars. The president himself, he's not driving Nigerian-made cars. You know, so we need to see the president drive innocence, and that will send a strong message down to every minister and head of department or agency that, look, the president leading by example, we have no choice than to do this. So it's not about coming to make press conferences. It's about actually following through what has been said. And I don't think in Nigeria we follow through. But if the government actually follows through on this one, it will be good news. So all fingers crossed. Let us reappraise this thing about 3 to 6 months down the road and see whether there's compliance.
How will they follow through when all the cars that the government officials need have already been bought, and they weren't bought from Nigeria? All the things that need to be done, even the furniture, I'm sure, that are used to furnish the offices of the people who are in government now may not have come from Nigeria. And then after they've done all this, they now tell the MDAs to, what will they buy? What will the MDAs buy that is made in Nigeria that they're encouraging them to buy? And like you said, who is showing the example for people to follow? And I don't get it. That's why it was so funny to me that you chose to do one thing and then give the rest the remaining thing to do, like, you know, this is what you're supposed to do, but I'm doing something else. It's really funny to me. That's the way it is for our country, Nigeria. Let's move to another headline. Tinubu seeks National Assembly's nod as tax regime begins in January. The government wants the National Assembly to sign off on that tax regime, which he has said would begin in January. So first of all, let's look at the tax regime itself, and then the fact that it has to wait till January for the implementation.
So one of the things that President Tinubu did in the very early days of his administration was to set up this tax reform committee that is headed by, I think his name is Mr. Oyewole, who used to work in one of the private audit firms. And to me, I thought that was a good move, to bring private sector people into government, you know, because one of the problems in Nigeria is that the competent Nigerians who can do it, who can move mountains, they are in the private sector. And we have left the public sector, especially the political offices, to people who don't have the managerial capacity to run anything. So if you look at the public sector, we have civil servants. Majority of them are qualified, competent. They have been in the system for a long time. They know what to do. But they are being led by public servants, who are the politicians, those who have got political jobs. And those ones, they don't have the capacity. Mostly, you see them, they don't have the capacity. They got the job because they happen to be members of a political party that won elections. And then they have to be compensated. So when they come into office, they are the ones supervising the civil servants. And you discover that once your supervisor is bad, you will tend to be bad, you know. And the civil servants also, they have perfected the ways of stealing government money, and they quickly give the ideas to these politicians, who of course will be very happy, because that's the reason they came into office, to make money. And that's why nothing is happening in the public sector in Nigeria. So President Tinubu bringing this private sector hand in was a good move. Now they have made fundamental recommendations regarding the tax administration in Nigeria. Some of them will require constitutional change, and I believe that's the reason why President Tinubu is now calling on the National Assembly to back him so that we can do this. And I think that's a good move. You know, everywhere else in the world, it is through tax revenues that governments make money, and they use this money to provide security and welfare to the citizenry. In Nigeria, you discover that those who are paying taxes are the low-level, low-income earners, like market women. This morning, as we speak, there are some people, whether they are legitimate or illegitimate, they are going around the market, you know, taxing those women who are selling in the open sun and all of that. And perhaps those who are working for a salary, the employers take payee. Whether the payee gets remitted to government coffers is another thing. But the big people in Nigeria, those riding private jets up and down, they are not bringing in their own fair share of taxes. And you know, elsewhere in the world, like here in the UK, there is only like a top 5% that is paying about 70% of the taxes. And the government makes sure that they are taking those taxes in. If Nigerian government makes sure that the Dangote, the Otedolas, the Tavidos, the Adeleke family, and all of these people are paying their fair share of taxation, that alone is going to show up government's revenue by hundreds of percentage in Nigeria. So this tax review is an important thing. But like we say, it's not only about the laws, it's also about implementation. Even the tax laws that we have today, they are adequate enough if the government implements them to the letter for us to generate enough revenue for government to do its work. So implementation of policy has always been the bane of Nigeria. And President Tinubu needs to show example by following through on implementation of policies.
Yeah, we do hope Nigeria will implement what they say. They put their money where their mouth is, as they say all the time. That's where we are hoping that we will get to, because we have very wonderful laws. A lot of people have said that, but implementation is always the recurrent decimal that everybody will be talking about or has been talking about. But this is where we are going to drop it on Off the Press this morning. I would like to thank you for sharing your time with us this morning.
Thank you, and have a nice day to all Nigerians.
You too. We've been talking to Nick Agule, public affairs analyst, who joined us from the United Kingdom. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll be treating our first hot topic. Stay with us.
Picture this. You're sitting at a table, ready to indulge in a mouth-watering meal. Stop. For many of us, it is hard to resist the temptation, especially when it comes to enjoying a juicy beef dish. But have you ever stopped to think about the impact of your food choices on the greater good? Our food choices have a great impact on others. The beef industry is one of the leading contributors to deforestation. As trees are cleared to make way for cattle ranching, it not only disrupts the delicate balance of ecosystems, but also contributes to climate change. We can make a difference with our choices. It does not mean we all have to become vegans overnight. Imagine enjoying fish and poultry a few times a week, indulging in beef just once a month, and filling our plates with plenty of plant-based goodness. Every little bit counts. And even small reductions in our intake can make a huge impact on the climate. By making smarter food choices, we're not only taking care of ourselves, but also the planet we call home. Remember, the choices we make today lead to a better tomorrow.
Thanks for staying with us. President Bola Tinubu has approved a new withholding tax policy, replacing the outdated policy from 1977. The new policy aims to alleviate the tax burden on farmers and small and medium enterprises, SMEs, by exempting small businesses from withholding tax compliance and reducing rates for low profit margin businesses. The policy will enhance compliance, reduce tax evasion, streamline the credit process, and align with global best practices. It provides clear guidelines on deduction, timing, and key term definitions to eliminate ambiguities. The reform addresses issues like excessive compliance burden, financial strain from multiple taxes, and problematic refund processes, aiming for a more equitable and efficient tax system. The new regulations will be published in the official gazette soon. And to discuss this with me is Mr. Joe Agbro, Jr., journalist and social commentator. Good morning and welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So, should we be clapping or should we be taking this with a pinch of salt, the new tax regime that is proposed, so to speak, at this moment?
I think it's a welcome development in the business environment of the country. It is not like a silver bullet, as can be said, but going forward, it's surely a positive move.
Okay, but you know, we are yet to see what the provisions are of this, will I call it bill or the tax regime that is being proposed. And they say it will be gazetted and published as soon as possible. But until we see that, how can we be sure that what the provisions are going to be what Nigerians really need? What from the literature I just read now, it's talking about businesses and all that, small businesses. So when you talk of small businesses, does it cover people like the ones that are being taxed daily in the marketplaces, the market women and all that? Does it cover those kind of people? Does it cover the drivers? Does it cover people like this that may not be termed as businesses, you know, on record? How far can it go?
Well, like you rightly said, we are yet to know the specifics, but from the general overview as given by the chairman of the tax committee, Taiwo Yedele, he revealed that, for instance, the withholding tax won't be applicable to a large percentage of SMEs. I mean, there was a report I was reading where he said previously SMEs with income of about 25 million will not be liable to tax in that bracket. So just from that overview, I mean, it's just that and other reforms just shows that the government is serious about the tax reforms.
Okay, but if you were to have an input into those provisions of these tax reforms or this document that will come out, what are some of the things that you would like to see as a person being reflected?
So basically, tax should be such that it's collected in a very, very easy way and not detrimental to the health of businesses. In Nigeria so far, there's been complaint of multiple taxations everywhere, and that has been a source of discouragement and has also aided tax evasion and avoidance. I mean, when we talk about the issues of tax evasion now, you have people, businesses shying away, running away from paying their taxes. I mean, taxes shouldn't be burdensome. So part of this reforms, hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so part of this reforms, like I said, is now using data the bulk of people in the tax bracket and the lower income spectrum are going to be reduced, while more at the top will be concentrated on. I mean, that's like a progressive kind of taxation. That's how it's done in many climes in the world, you know. Then one other thing I find interesting also is, I mean, this coming from the report too, is how the chairman said this committee was going to propose a situation whereby technology will be used to capture what each and every Nigerian spends, to know the degree of kind of taxes they are liable to. I think that's a welcome development.
Yeah, I just have two problems or so. First of all, the complaint has always been that the people who really need to pay the tax, the big companies, are the ones that default the most. And now, if they're going to remove the small ones who are the real taxpayers, as we have presently now from the tax net, and then concentrate on these big conglomerates, I hope that they are going to be paying this tax, because these are people who can move and shake whatever it is in Nigeria. That is why maybe they can evade these taxes and all that. And secondly, I see how so many Nigerian establishments hate the idea of technology, because it will expose a lot of things that are going on within the establishment. So I don't know how the compliance rate will be, and I don't know how the enforcement rate will be, and I don't know if you have some recommendations for them to be able to carry out what they are planning to do.
Okay, good observations you raise. Now, there's one beautiful thing about technology. In the past, let me just deviate a little. In the past, before the coming to be of biometric passports, we had people using different people's passports to travel. I mean, you would just present a face. You could easily tamper with those kind of documents. But when biometrics came, it became like nearly foolproof. You have to be like having the same kind of biometrics to be able to pull that kind of stunt. Now, with the NIN too, the kind of fears we've had before, if we're going to track people's payments and all, it will be it will be very difficult to achieve things like tax evasion. I mean, it just comes from the source. This kind of payment, this is where it's originating from. It is tracked. The NIN is a sort of biometric. It is tracked. It follows it. You see, so that's the beauty. But you know, like with everything technology too, there's this fear, because when there's a human factor in it, it can still be manipulated. And I mean, businesses all over the world, we hear of shell companies and all. I mean, what gave rise to the Panama Papers is a global thing. Even in the top countries too that still deploy technology, some businessmen still find a way to circumnavigate all those but in issues like this, I think it's always best not to preempt the authorities when they come out with this kind of policies and structures. I mean, let's wait. The proposals are still about to be implemented, and once we start, we can always go back to the drawing board and sit. But as far as it goes, it is something that it's a win-win. I mean, but like you said, the fears are always there, and that's how the fears will always be for any kind of move or policy we take, either as individuals or as a country or as a business. I mean, these are just standard ways things go.
Yeah, but my fear is, it's things that we are seeing. For instance, you go to the airport, the kind of checks that you will have in Nigeria, you won't find them even in Benin Republic. the places you go through, you will expect that when there is technology, as the claim they have at the airports and everywhere else, you go through checks, maybe 1 or 2 places, and technology carries you. Everybody sees what it is that you're doing. We find out today we have NIMC. Then you go to everywhere, you are still required to bring 1 or 2 things. If you are a civil servant, no matter how sick you are in the area of technology, we still have people being brought on stretchers from the hospitals direct to where they are doing verification and so on and so forth. So even with technology, we see people compromising this because of maybe selfish or wicked tendencies. And so that's why I'm afraid that we may just be talking, and we know that there is technology, but it's still being compromised by a lot of selfish people.
So good things. So what you've just the fear you've just raised now is just strictly the Nigerian factor, which we all know.
Because there are just stories, even
2 reforms that technology has solved. First, we look at the issuance of passports now. Till this current Minister of Interior came, it was very difficult either getting a new passport or renewal. But I renewed my passport sometime last year. I started the process about May. I got it about October, late September, when the new minister came. And I visited the immigration office in Lagos, and I saw there's a difference. And I've been getting reports that there's been a difference. Less interaction with humans, And also about pensioners verification. Right now, I am aware of the police and I think some other government agency. They do the verification digitally. So gone are the days of where you have to be physically present at any venue. And I think going forward with the adoption of all this kind of technology is going to ease our lives just as it happens in other places.
I agree.
I mean, these are just the human factors, and
I agree.
When it comes to these issues of tax, I see it as a good way out of our current quagmire.
I agree totally. It's just that, I can still express these fears. A few days ago, we had the stories of people who have relocated to the UK and other Western countries, still receiving salaries from Nigeria, even with the technology that we have. That's the Nigerian factor. So it's just a prayer that we don't get to the point where we use technology only to the selfish advantage of the people who are able or who are in power and all that. Data in Nigeria is not taken seriously, I must say, and that is a very worrisome thing. We don't take data very seriously. So a criminal can be a criminal here and become a senator somewhere else. A criminal can be a criminal here and become a citizen somewhere else and doing the things that he's not supposed to do as a criminal because we don't have a database. Whether he was captured here or not. That's the problem.
Yeah, very correct. But I also have to chip in this. Despite the technology, some things still go on, some crimes still go on, some unwholesome practice still go on. But guess what? It's still with technology that these same crimes and unwholesome acts are still being arrested. So, I mean, just like I said earlier, technology is not foolproof. Without the human factor still, we still have to contend with that. And I think, but with these reforms in the tax sectors, compared to what we had before, definitely what's on ground now, it's a positive. It's not the silver bullet, like I said, but from before, we're in a better position.
Yeah, but so do you think it is 100% laudable? Because I'm not saying it's bad to remove tax, but removing tax totally, I don't know if that will not deplete the finances of the nation. What a lot of people fear about taxation is multiple taxation, which gladly has been captured here, that possibly this multiple taxation will be a thing of the past. And then people will be sure of what they are paying at what particular time. Do you think removing it totally from the greatest number of people that do business will be a good move for the country? Even though it will be a good move for the people, but will it be a good move for the country?
Well, I didn't really get you clearly.
Maybe 80% of the people who pay tax, no matter how small it might be, are the ones that are going to be captured by this tax regime as people who should not pay tax, because we've spoken already about the people who do not pay tax, who are the big boys and the big girls. But if these people are totally removed from the tax net, do you think that will be a good move for the country, even though it will be a good move for the people?
So there's withholding tax. From what I've read so far, is the withholding tax.
Just that.
That will be exempted. Yeah. So there are still other forms of taxations. Those ones won't go off completely. There are still going to be the VAT. And hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so and going forward, so you talked about the people escaping the tax net.
Yeah.
We are talking of the big boys in quotes.
Yes.
They have the more of the capacity, but with the kind of structures of the tax, they tend to pay less. It's not like a progressive tax, which obtains in other climes, where the higher you pay, the higher you earn, the more taxes you pay. I mean, so those with the tracking of the NIN, that's what I believe will make up. I mean, let's look at it in this way: 50% of, just an hypothetical calculation.
Yes.
50% of 1 million compared to about 20% of 10 million. So if you get a larger number from a smaller percentage from a higher number, at times it could be way more than a larger percentage or a smaller percentage from a smaller number. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, and we're just talking of withholding taxes. It's not as if, from what I read, it's not as if the Oyedele committee is scrapping taxes for all SMEs, but withholding tax. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I don't think the country will suffer from loss of revenue from taxation. I rather think it will gain more. It's just that it will now aid small businesses, small entrepreneurs, SMEs.
Okay.
It will give them more motivation to produce. That's just how I see this reforms.
Okay. I'm happy. We just saw a headline this morning that said that MDAs are encouraged to patronize made in Nigeria goods. So maybe that's just like a follow-up. Just that I'm always doing this. Maybe I've suffered too much at the hands of people who promise and they're in government and they don't do it. We've seen that this same government asking people to buy made in Nigeria goods are the ones that are buying everything that they need from outside the country. The cars that they are using everywhere are from outside the country. So we do hope that they will talk and do, as we say in Nigeria. And I hope we have a better Nigeria. Well, before we just wrap up, I'd like you to just say a few words to Nigerians because you have the opportunity today. Maybe a word of encouragement or something. It's a Wednesday, so let's just hear you. finally to wrap up?
What I'll just say is it's always better to be optimistic. And wherever we see the country, let's try and show our support. I mean, just as the government said, let's call out our leaders. Let's not be afraid to speak out to our governors. Let's call them out where they are failing. But let's be constructive about it. Let's realize that all our leaders came out from these our societies. And it shouldn't be a question of, because the government is not doing this, then in my own little space, I shouldn't do this. The change can start from everyone. In fact, it should begin with everyone. I mean, but we all have a right to call out our leaders, and always try and portray our country in the best light. I mean, we have no other country yet. So if we badmouth our country, let's all know that we are doing ourselves bad. America is not as rosy as some people love to paint it. I mean, they have a lot of killings going, poverty, but Hollywood doesn't show us all that. So I mean, let's just work on ourselves and push ourselves better. That's all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Agbro Jr., for coming on the show and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We've been talking to Mr. Joe Agbro Jr., journalist and social commentator. He was looking at the withholding tax, the new tax regime generally, that is being proposed by the federal government. Well, we'll take a short break before we go to our next topic. But first of all, let me just use this time to talk to all the employers of labor. This morning, it's been raining in most parts of Lagos State. And from the videos we're seeing on the social media and some of them being sent to us by our correspondents all over Lagos, it shows that a lot of places are flooded. So if your area is not flooded and maybe the area before your employee gets to work is flooded, it might take them a little more time for them to arrive at work. So knowing the condition that we face in Lagos when it rains, I just appeal to employers of labor to be a little bit kind at some point, because some people will come late to work today because of that. We've seen very disturbing videos. Some people are trekking in water that is up to their knee level, some more than that, and some cars will not enter into that kind of a place, so they may not get to work on time. So if your employee comes late to work and the reason is because of flood on the road, it might be very valid. So be kind, a little bit kind today. So we'll take that break now, and when we return, we'll be looking at the fact that the reps are investigating alleged mismanagement of 2 trillion naira government funding by MDAs. Stay with us.
My name is Adejoke Lasisi. I'm the founder and creative director of Planet 3R. At Planet 3R, we convert textile and plastic waste into eco-friendly products. The motivation actually came from a rural community in Ibadan here. Whenever it rains, the whole place, people will not be able to go inside the community. If it rains overnight, people will not be able to go to school, they will not be able to go to work. Anytime the water now goes away, you now realize a lot of waste. And I was like, this is actually the root cause of this problem, improper waste management system. Then I look at it that, what can we do to solve this problem? And that was how I started using the weaving skill that I've acquired from my mom since I was 9 years old. Then I started using it to weave those waste to now make sure that we now convert them into beautiful items like bags, shoes, even clothing. I actually participated at Womenpreneur Season 3, that was 2021. One of the things I really gained at that time was business development. It's not just about the talent now or having to know how to convert the waste or having the idea, but to be able to put it into a successful business. I really appreciate what Access Bank is doing for entrepreneurs. Let us now say women now, because most of the time women don't really have much of these advantages. I love the fact that there's an initiative for women. I want to encourage you to make sure that you go and apply honestly. Your life will not remain the same again.
amazingness today.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bukky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Who has the right of way? Nigerian roads come with a lot of chaos. The chaos is caused by a combination of drivers, motorcycle and tricycle riders, pedestrians, and sellers who all claim the right of way. The chain of right of way holders in Nigeria is hierarchical, and car and motor drivers are at the top of the chain with pedestrians at the bottom. Car or motor drivers believe that they always have the right of way regardless, and motorcycle and tricycle riders don't even have any regard for who has the right of way. For fear of accidents and their lives, pedestrians have learned to cower. When a collision occurs, the question of who has the right of way is on the lip of all concerned as they try to figure out who is guilty. The law doesn't grant anyone the right of way, but you yield it to other road users under these circumstances. At a yield sign, to pedestrians in a crosswalk, to persons using a seeing eye guide dog, to persons using a white cane with or without a red tape, at T intersections where you must yield to vehicles on the through road, at uncontrolled intersections where vehicles are already in the intersection, when driving on an unpaved road that intersects with a paved road, When returning to the roadway after a car is parked, pedestrians must always be yielded the right of way at intersections and crosswalks. Treat bicycles as motor vehicles. Yield to bicyclists in all situations where you would yield to a car. For example, wait for an oncoming bicycle to pass before turning left. Turn right at a red light if it's permitted and no vehicles are approaching. If you see a sign that says "No right turn on red," then you must wait for the light to turn green again. Otherwise, you must turn right at a red light after yielding to oncoming traffic. Stop for pedestrians who've begun crossing the road. Once a pedestrian has begun crossing the road, they have the right of way. You should also stop for pedestrians waiting to cross at crosswalks that aren't controlled by a traffic light. Yield to oncoming traffic if you're entering a main road. Being online has become a part of our every waking moment. From the moment we wake up in the morning till we hit the pillow at night, we are browsing, scrolling through social media, responding to messages. We live our lives online almost as much as we live it in reality. These anonymous interactions, like any other human interaction, comes with complexity and challenges. People get into civil discussions, debates, banter, and share with one another. With these interactions come disagreements, arguments, conflicts that can soon degenerate into trolling, bullying, and general unpleasantness. The discretion we employ in face-to-face interaction is further decreased online. Stanford psychology professor John Sula in 2004 said, "The online disinhibition effects can cause people to act out in either a benign manner, wherein they overshare their personal information, or in a toxic manner, wherein they become abusive or threatening." "I am in my house, come and beat me," is a common saying online that alludes to the inaccessibility that emboldens even regular people to behave in less than civil ways online. Another factor responsible for this behavior, apart from anonymity and availability, is solipsistic introduction. A situation, according to Dr. Sula, where you don't have any physical cues associated with the person you're communicating with, and other person becomes just a voice in your head. As such, the people in your online conversations merely become characters in your imagination, formed by your own personal history and expectations. You might also hear his or her voice as your own, which makes you feel more comfortable with the other person and further lowers your inhibitions. As we have rules that guide our interactions in real life, unspoken rules need to be developed for our online interactions. Social media etiquette, or social mannerism simply put, means do's and don'ts for social media interactions. These etiquettes are also referred to as netiquettes. The term netiquette refers to all aspects of online communication, including email, instant messaging, social media, multiplayer gaming, and other forms of online communication. The main goal behind netiquette or mannerisms on social media is to treat others with respect and take care of intellectual property rights and associated implications. Personal information, images, or videos of anyone should not be shared without consent or mentioning credits where due. Except we seek to change such behaviors, it will pervade. Here are some social media netiquettes. When sending a DM, be polite and go straight to the point. When responding to posts, even if you disagree, be careful not to use condescending and insultive words. Take a 5-minute pause before you post any comments. Don't comment on topics that people tend to be passionate about. Don't respond to insults or hateful language. Don't say to people online what you won't have the audacity to say to them in person. Avoid excessive tagging of people. Ask before tagging people. Although it may seem inoffensive, tagging a friend or acquaintance on social media without their permission could in many ways cause problems for that person. Good social media etiquette means you should always request for permission before tagging anyone. Post only flattering pictures of other people. Apply the billboard test. Assume that everyone in the world can and will see everything you post. So if it's not billboard worthy, don't post it. Give credit where it's due. Don't post other people's photos or quotes without clear attribution. This means no screen grabs even if you have the best intentions. Instead, use a repost app to properly credit others with your own content. Think of the future you. Your taste will change as will your sense of humor, but your photos will live on forever. Use caution when posting. Don't take screenshots of other people's private moments that they shared with you in confidence. Censor yourself. You might treat your Facebook or Twitter accounts as diaries. Don't share everything with your readers. Some things are meant to be kept private.
Ìmọ́tótó ló lè ṣẹ́gun àrùn gbogbo. Ìmọ́tótó ló lè ṣẹ́gun àrùn gbogbo.
Cholera is defined as an infectious disease that is caused by ingestion of food and water contaminated with the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. It usually occurs as diarrhea, dehydration, and may lead to death if left untreated. Cholera was first discovered in 1854 by an Italian physician, Philip Pacini, during an outbreak in Florence, Italy. Also, record shows that cholera was detected by Robert Koch, a physician and microbiologist in India in 1883. In Nigeria, since its first appearance in 1972, intermittent outbreaks have been occurring. The later part of 2010 was marked with a widespread in the northern part of Nigeria, spreading to the other parts, and involving approximately 3,000 cases and 781 deaths. Unlike many other infectious diseases, cholera persists as a huge public health problem worldwide, even where there are accessible and effective methods for its prevention and treatment. The main reasons for its persistence are socioeconomic, since cholera thrives in unhygienic conditions and environments with a reputation of already fragile sanitation, especially in overcrowded areas. The major symptoms of cholera are diarrhea, nausea and vomiting, dehydration, muscle cramps, and shock. To prevent being infected with cholera, you should provide safe water, basic sanitation, and maintain adequate hygiene practices. If infected, the first aid treatment to assist the sufferer, if medical professionals are not readily available, is to get oral rehydration solution to replace lost fluids and electrolytes. Without rehydration, approximately half of the people infected with cholera will die. Severe cases need rapid treatments with intravenous fluids and antibiotics, which are to be recommended and administered by medical experts. There is currently an increase of cholera outbreak in Nigeria, and the Lagos State government declared a cholera outbreak on the 9th of June 2024. These suspected cases of cholera have been reported respectively in neighbouring Oyo and Ogun states. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, reported that as of 11th of June 2024, 1,141 suspected cholera cases had been recorded across 30 states in Nigeria, including Bayelsa, Lagos, Abia, Cross River, Delta, and Imo, with some situated further north, Katsina, Nasarawa, and Zamfara states. United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, UNICEF, says Nigeria must prevent spread in schools. With the intervention of all relevant bodies, individuals also have a relevant role to play. Prevention is better and cheaper than cure. Here are a few prevention tips. Drink and use safe water. Flush or bury poop. Wash and peel raw fruits with clean hands. Also, cook food thoroughly. Thoroughly clean toilets and surfaces contaminated with poop. Remember, Health is wealth. Stay safe.
Sex education is just becoming more popular in Nigerian culture. But an aspect we often neglect is sexual health communication. How comfortably do people communicate their sexual health challenges with health workers when the need arises?
People have different personality types, but generally, people are usually very shy when it comes to talking about like their sexual health. They have complaints that have to do with reproductive, like that have to do with the genitals or something related to sex, you know. They're usually like, there's this sense of shame, there's this sense of embarrassment. I usually look at it this way. Number one, there are many people that did not come.
Can you remember the last time you were at the doctor's and you wanted to complain about a sexual health challenge? How comfortable were you? What tactic did you employ to explain your predicament to the doctor?
There are people that come, but when they come, they're not going to say their complaints because when they got to the hospital, they choke, in quotes. Like, they just feel like, no, I can't say this thing because they feel so embarrassed about it. And the people that don't come, what they do is they talk with a friend that they feel that, hey, this person is going to understand and is not going to judge me. And so the people that come and they choke, they'll just tell you another complaint. So that's not the reason why they came to the hospital. So they'll just tell you something else, like something that is not related to their, and to the main complaint that, you know.
Well, we'd like to thank you at this point for being with us till this moment. In spite of all the hitches, we once again apologize for beginning late and having a few hitches along the line on this day. We hope that it will be better subsequently. We hope to see you tomorrow for another edition of The Breakfast. Until then, my name is Nyamgul Agaji. Thank you for your time.
An African girl somewhere is sitting at home, accompanied by dreams that seem so far away. Africa is one of the continents with the highest out-of-school percentage in education, and girls are at an early disadvantage. The sub-Saharan Africa records about 18 million out-of-school girls. This gender gap extends to the tech space with a projection of only a 33% global female workforce representation in tech firms for 2022. Let us help change the stories and numbers. Africa Agility's Project Train a Girl campaign is working to help train African girls in tech. You can donate as little as $2 or 2,000 naira to help a girl in tech get her heels in the door. Visit www.africaagility.rallyup.com/PTAG to donate.
Nigeria has produced and continues to produce great writers who have won great accolades and recognition for their work. When discussing African literature, names like Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka, and Buchi Emecheta. But beyond these writers, exist modern writers redefining the fate of literature in Nigeria, Africa, and globally. 1. Chimamanda Adichie, the recipient of a MacArthur Foundation Fellowship, was born on the 15th of September 1977 in Enugu, Nigeria. As a teenager, Chimamanda left for the United States and gained a scholarship to study communication at the Drexel University in Philadelphia, then pursued a degree in communication and political science at Eastern Connecticut State University. Her works have been translated into over 30 languages and has appeared in various publications, including The New Yorker, the O. Henry Price Stories, and the Financial Times. Some of her books, like The Purple Hibiscus, Half of a Yellowstone, and Americana, have won various awards. Her 2012 talk, We Should All Be Feminists, started a worldwide conversation about feminism and was published as a book in 2014. Tomi Adeyemi. Tomi, the author of Children of Blood and Bone, was born on August 1st, 1993, in the United States to parents who emigrated from Nigeria. After graduating Harvard University with an honors degree in English literature, she received a fellowship to study West African mythology, religion, and culture in Salvador, Brazil. Her debut novel, Children of Blood and Bone, has spent over 2 years on the New York Times bestseller list, and its film adaptation is currently in active development with Disney's Fox and Lucasfilms. She was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people. She is a Hugo and Nebula award-winning Nigerian-American writer and storyteller based in Los Angeles, California. In 2020, she was named one of Forbes 30 Under 30 in media, and her website has been named one of the best websites for writers by Writers Digest. Teju Cole. Teju Cole is a novelist, photographer, and curator. He was born in 1975 in the U.S. He is currently the Gore Vidal Professor of the Practice of Creative Writing at Harvard University. His novella, Every Day is for the Thief, was named a Book of the Year by the New York Times, The Globe and Mail, NPR, and The Telegraph, and shortlisted for the PEN Open Book Award. Another one of his books, Open City, also featured on numerous Book of the Year lists and won the PEN Hemingway Award, the New York City Book Award for Fiction, and was shortlisted for the National Book Critics Circle Award and the New York Public Library Young Lions Award. Teju Cole has contributed to New York Times, The New Yorker, Granta, Brick, and many other magazines. Akwaekwe Emezi. Born 1987, Emezi is a National Book Foundation 535 honoree. She was born in Umuahia and raised in Aba, Nigeria. Her adult novel, The Death of Vivek Oji, was a New York Times bestseller, an indie bestseller, and an indie next selection, receiving rave reviews from the New York Times, USA Today, NPR, the LA Times, and the Washington Post. Her debut autobiographical novel, Freshwater, is in early development as a TV series at FX, with Emezi writing and producing with Tamara P. Carter. Translated into 12 languages, Freshwater won the 2019 Otherwise Award, formerly the Tiptree and the Normal Book. It was a New York Times notable book, as well as a finalist for the Center for Fiction's First Novel Prize, the PEN Hemingway Award, the NYPL Young Lions Fiction Award, the Edmund White Award for Debut Fiction, and a Lambda Literary Award. Beyond these writers are more individuals, old and young, using the power of the pen and ink to change the face and narrative of the country and the continent.
Hello and welcome to the news brief. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. An unspecified number of people have been trapped as a four-story building collapsed in Unity House Area 11 by Nkwere Street in the Garki area of the Federal Capital Territory. The incident occurred on Monday night when occupants of the building were asleep. The Federal Capital Territory FCT Police Public Relations Officer SP Josephine Ade confirmed the incident on Tuesday. She said 3 victims have been successfully rescued from the rubble while search is still ongoing.
Starting at around 7:30, we are up, so we are quicking. So you can't hear the building is shaking. So this my brother can say, what is happening here? So rain no falling, thunder no struck. So as you can nothing. You can hear the thing like say vibration, like say rain is coming. So as you can jump, we follow window. As you can see, say yeah, the thing is falling. You just follow window, calm down.
The truth here is that developers, both construction, general companies and individual developers, 1, they do not keep to building codes. 2, when there is a warning sign to suspend construction work, they don't obey. 3, they don't carry out integrity tests, especially when it has to do with existing buildings that are going to be renovated. 4, they don't give the workers personal protective wears. It is unfortunate that within a week we've had 3 building collapse, which is a very sad situation.
This is a society that has no regard for the regulations and standards. Oftentimes, when structures are marked, it's not about demolishing that structures. It's drawing the attention of the developer to stop further development until issues are rectified. But you know, who we are in this part of the world, people hardly respect authorities. That's why you see sometimes we are hard on them. Like this structure is an existing structure that has been here for more than 20 years. But obviously, you could see some modifications and renovations taken on, which I want to confirm, or I want to believe that they have not done the due diligence. That's why this unfortunate incident happened.
The Defense Headquarters has described the terrorist bomb attacks in Goza, Borno State as cowardly acts intended to project an image of strength despite their weakness and decline. The bomb attacks carried out by the terrorists on Saturday were the deadliest in recent times. Explaining how the incidents happened, the Defense Headquarters beggar at the wedding reception. The second attack occurred on the same street while efforts were being made to stabilize casualties. The third attack happened as troops and hybrid forces were enforcing a curfew imposed on the residents. And in the fourth incident, the suicide bomber detonated the bomb prematurely after being detected early. Buba said the Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa commiserated with all the victims of the incident, noting that the attacks were a result of successes being recorded against the terrorists. He added that the terrorists attacked to cover their weakness. The Southeastern Governors Forum has stated its commitment to visit President Bola Tinubu to seek the release of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. The forum, which comprised Governor Hope Uzodimma of Imo, Alex Oti, Abia, Chukwuma Soludo, Anambra, Francis Nwifuru, Ebonyi, and Peter Mba, Enugu, met on Tuesday during a meeting held in Enugu State. Chairman of the forum, Uzodimma, who announced the resolution, also noted that the delegation of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former Commonwealth Secretary General Emeka Anyaoku, and the Obi of Onitsha, Nnameka Achebe, paid a solidarity visit to the forum. Uzodimma stated that about security and economic summit held in Owerri, the Imo State capital, on September 28, 2023, the forum had agreed to implement the aspects of the report pertaining to security and economic integration and affirmed its desire to put actionable plans on the key issues agreed.
The forum deliberated on the reviewed report of the Southeast Security and Economic Summit held in Owerri on the 28th September 2023 and agreed to implement the aspects of the report pertaining to security and economic integration of the region and affirmed its desire to put actionable plans on the key issues agreed. The forum resolved to visit Mr. President to discuss the pressing issues, all pressing issues concerning the Southeast region. The forum also deliberated and resolved to interface with the federal government to secure the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and the meeting adjourned whenever.
The Imo State House of Assembly on Tuesday suspended 4 lawmakers of the State House of Assembly for an alleged attempt to remove the Speaker, Chike Olemgbe. The Speaker's Chief Press Secretary, CPS Peter Uwa, who confirmed this in Owerri, said it came as an announcement by the Speaker, Olemgbe. The lawmakers suspended include the state lawmaker for Kigwe State Constituency, Chidebere Ogbunikpa, Ahiazu State Constituency, Sam Otuibe, Ezinite Mbise State Constituency, Henry Agbasonu, and Oru West Constituency, Dominic Ezioha. On the reason for the suspension, he said it was for hatching, scheming an impeachment plan and inciting members to impeach the Speaker of the Imo State House of Assembly. The Senate on Tuesday's plenary urged the federal government to urgently make emergency provisions for victims of flooding in some communities in Abia North Senatorial District of Abia State. This is sequel to the motion titled Call on the Federal Government to urgently make emergency provisions for victims of flooding in some communities in Abia North Senatorial District of Abia State, sponsored by Senator representing Abia North, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu. In his lead debate, Orji noted that the ugly occurrence happened as a result of heavy rainstorm which came with lightning and thunder. According to Orji, the downpour was so severe and devastating, thereby claiming precious lives and properties.
Worried that with the destruction of certain infrastructure affected, resident majority who are rural dwellers, artisans and farmers are presently facing existence without basic necessity of life. Most worried that if no emergency response is provided for the victims, the desolated society will be worse for it, and the credible number of casualties may be recorded.
Has rendered the people involved so helpless, homeless, and there is urgent need for intervention at quick impact level, intermediary and long term, because the roads were washed away, houses were broken, and most of them are rendered homeless. So I support the motion.
Erosion is about taking over the entire Southeast. In my senatorial zone of Idato North, Idato South, Orlu local government, Njaba, erosion have taken over. In 2024 is a major issue because last year we had flooding in this country, and we were advised that this year is going to be worse. But I thought maybe some remedial jobs ought to have been done in some of these areas.
In support of the motion, Senator Austin Akubondu, Abia Central Senatorial District, Senator Enyinnaya Abaribe, Abia South, and Senator Osita Izunaso, Imo North, concurred with the motion, urging the federal government to urgently intervene in the area. The Deputy Senate President, Senator Barau Jibril, who presided over plenary, congratulated the sponsor, stressing that the federal government was doing its best.
Very, very big, and several others are coming. This is just 1 year of the administration. The Renewed Hope is working, and it will get to the root of what you're asking about. Just continue to cooperate with the government. Everything will be okay. As an opposition senator, cooperate with us. A lot will come, and things will change for the better. Call on the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation and National Emergency Management Agency to urgently make emergency provision available to cushion the effects on victims of the affected communities in Abia North Central District. Those in favor of this prayer, please say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it.
The chairman of the House Special Ad Hoc Committee on Restructuring of Government Agencies, Parastatals and Commissions, Honorable Isiaka Ibrahim, says the current review exercise is to enhance efficiency in the civil service to enable it meet current realities. Honorable Ibrahim made this known at a press briefing with members of the House of Representatives Press Corps in Abuja, where members briefed the media on the progress and challenges it has encountered so far in the exercise. He says the committee will revisit the recommendations of the Orosanya report and other white papers to ensure that the President Tinubu's administration structures aligns with current realities, best practices, and changing needs of the Nigerian society.
Talking about managing scrapping agencies, the National Assembly is still creating, that is still making making many establishment bills and passing them into an act of the Parliament. You see, the work of legislation is a going process. And the fact that one thing you should not forget, some of what we are going to look at is some agencies were created for a certain exigency of time in the past. Perhaps maybe some of them have outlived their function, okay? And it is the duty of the National Assembly now to review all those. If it's to strengthen them, I'll look for more functions for them, so be it.
The committee further laid fears over the loss of jobs by civil servants due to the ongoing review.
What we are doing or what we are going to do will now be to throw people out of job. No, definitely that will not come up. You see, not alone that merging, scrapping, or realigning functions of ministries, agencies, and departments, it's not just that. You see, it's just to avoid duplication. You see, we are doing something, and then this other person is doing the same thing within the same confine, the same ministry, or the same agency. I mean, we need to delineate all this. So it's just about the function, and it's not about driving people out of their jobs. Definitely not. And of course, we don't have such a mandate, and we are not going to tamper with that. Of course, next week, like I stated here on behalf of my colleagues, we'll be having the public hearing. The head of service is going to be there. The SGF, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, would have to be there.
A Kano State High Court on Tuesday adjourned the hearing of an application of the ongoing Kano Emirship tussle case until Thursday, July 4. The Kano State Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice, Speaker, Kano State House of Assembly, and Kano State House of Assembly, through their counsel, Ibrahim Issa Wangida, filed a motion ex parte on May 27. The applicants are seeking an order restraining the 15th Emir, Aminu Ado Bayero, and 4 others, dethroned emirs of Bichi, Rano, Gaya, and Karaye, from parading themselves as traditional rulers. The respondents are Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, Alhaji Nasiru Ado Bayero, Bichi Emir, Dr. Ibrahim Abubakar II, Emir of Karaye, Alhaji Kabiru Mohammed Inuwa, Emir of Rano, and Alhaji Aliu Ibrahim Gaya, Emir of Gaya. Others are the Inspector General of Police, Director, State Security Services, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, and Nigerian Army. When the case came up for hearing on all pending applications, counsel to the applicants, Eyitayo Fatogun, SAN, informed the court that he was served with 5 processes on July 1 at about 6:30 p.m. by the first respondent. A High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, has struck out a suit filed by Abuja-based lawyer Chidinma Udeburani, seeking to remove former chairman of the body of benches, Chief Wole Olanikwekun, SAN, from office. Justice Anthony Ebong, who struck out the suit, held that the issue in dispute had already been overtaken by events as Olanikwekun had completed his term. He also noted that the plaintiff and her counsel had abandoned the case. Former Attorney General of the Federation, Chief Kanu Godwin Agabi, represented Olanikwekun in the case. Justice Ebong struck out the suit following Agabi's application, citing the absence of the plaintiff and her counsel in court. The court agreed with Agabi that the plaintiff's absence strengthened the argument that the matter had become academic. Chidinma had filed the case at the FCT High Court registry on August 2, 2022, asking the court to compel Olanikwekun to vacate the office of chairman of the body of benches and to declare null and void the call to bar the ceremony that he presided over on July 27, 2022. The Nigerian Bar Association Adamawa State Branch has inaugurated a new executive committee with Idi Ali, Esquire, assuming the role of chairman. The oath of office was administered on Monday by the Chief Judge of the state, Justice Hafsat Abdul Rahman. In his inaugural speech, Ali pledged to leverage the influence of the bar to ensure justice administration within the state. He expressed gratitude to Governor Amadou Umaru Fintiri for his support of the bar's activities. Justice Abdul Rahman, in her goodwill message, expressed confidence that the new committee led by Ali would elevate legal practice in the state to align with international best practices. This new leadership marks a significant step towards strengthening the judicial system in Adamawa State, focusing on the welfare of NBA members and the unwavering impartiality of the judiciary.
Elected Executive Committee, we are united in our resolve to unify the entire Yola Bar, aiming to realize the vision of enhancing members' welfare, upholding the judiciary's independence, integrity, and impartiality, and furthering the rule of law.
Let me want to offer my warmest and most sincere congratulations to the new leadership of the bar and all who have played one role or the other in making this event a success. May this day be remembered as one of the finest moments of the bar in Adamawa.
The Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, RCEC, has announced that the local government chairmanship and councillorship elections for 2023 local government councils in the state will hold on October 5, 2024. The chairman of the commission, retired Justice Adolphus Enebeli, made this known during a stakeholders meeting and unveiling of the 2024 election timetable guidelines at the commission's office in Port Harcourt. Justice Enebeli called on stakeholders to work with the commission in actualizing the set goal of conducting credible elections.
We are here today to unveil the guidelines and timetable of activities for the 2024 local government elections. I humbly appeal to all politicians aspiring to contest for positions to do so in a simple and disciplined manner. You are expected to play by the rules. The guidelines are set for the good of all. They are not intended or skewed against any party or individual. We all have a collective responsibility to consolidate our nascent democratic experience, to respect all stakeholders, to act with professionalism, good ethics, and civility before, during, and after the election.
The People's Democratic Party, PDP faithful in Oshimili North local government area of Delta State, have expressed confidence in winning the forthcoming local government election come 13th of July. A former House of Assembly aspirant, Comrade Israel Amadi Emina, noted that the party's flag bearer at the election, Honorable Innocent Esewezie, has done well for his people in creating so many opportunities for the youth and community leaders across the wards that make up the council during his first tenure. Comrade Amadi Emina made this statement at the PDP rally in Oshimili North local government area of the state. Our Sabah correspondent, Akwamajero Friday, reports that Comrade Israel Amadi Emina opined that the state is a home of the PDP, as no other political party can win any local government election across the 25 local government areas of the state. Comrade Amadi Emina pointed out that since 1999, PDP leadership has been in total control at the state and local government levels and has recorded massive development under the leadership of Governor Sheriff Oboroweri since he became governor of the state last year.
I think the past chairman and the incoming chairman now for the People's Democratic Party has done greatly for the local government. It's visible in the local government, and he deserves another tenure. That is why we are all immersed and coming out to work for him in order for him to deliver for second term. So I think we don't need to be skeptical about anything. We don't need to be scared about anything, because we are well confident in his delivery, and also we are well confident in his capacity to deliver more for us in Oshimili North. Antecedents, all his works and results are visible to everybody in Oshimili North and even Oshimili South. They performed extremely too well in our local government. When we want to rank all the chairman, the past chairman, he has done extremely too well, better than any other chairman, because he's a man that carries people along. He's a man that does not want cheat. He's a man that believes in equity. So that's a same way. Innocent the same way. With this, every party is afraid to come out to contest with him. Even the other parties, they talk good of him.
Oshimili North, our local government, has been with PDP, and PDP has been with him. Oshimili North, all the while, PDP has been producing chairman, all positions. And we believe this time around they are going to do the same thing. If you see my cap, what is written there is specific. And what it simply means is coming out to the limelight.
Please stay with us as we now take a commercial break to return with the rest of the news.
My name is Adejokela Sisi. I'm the founder and creative director of Planet 3R. As Planet 3R, we convert textile and plastic waste into eco-friendly products. The motivation actually came from a rural community in Ibadan here. Whenever it rains, the whole place, people will not be able to go inside the community. If it rains overnight, people will not be able to go to school, they will not be able to go to work. Anytime the water now goes away, you now realize a lot of waste. And I was like, this is actually the root cause of this problem, improper waste management system. Then I look at it that, what can we do to solve this problem? And that was how I started using the weaving skill that I've acquired from my mom since I was 9 years old. Then I started using it to weave those waste to now make sure that we now convert them into beautiful items like bags, shoes, even clothing. I actually participated at Womenpreneur Season 3, that was 2021. One of the things I really gained at that time was business development. You know, it's not just about the talent now or having to know how to convert the waste or having the idea, but to be able to put it into a successful business. I really appreciate what Access Bank is doing for entrepreneurs. Let us now say women now, because most of the time women don't really have much of these advantages. I love the fact that there's an initiative for women. I want to encourage you to make sure that you go and apply honestly. Your life will not remain the same again.
We now move to other parts of Africa. 2 staff members of the foreign aid group Tier Fund were killed when their convoy was attacked in eastern Congo, the latest in a series of attacks targeting aid groups and residents in the region. The aid workers were killed on Sunday after their convoy had arrived in Butembo City in North Kivu province, where armed rebels have been fighting Congolese security forces, according to a statement late Monday by the organization. It wasn't immediately clear which group was behind the attack. More than 120 armed groups in eastern Congo have been carrying out attacks, often involving bombs targeting residents as they seek a share of the region's gold and other resources. More than 170 such security incidents have targeted humanitarian workers, causing at least 4 deaths and the abduction of more than a dozen people. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs in Congo said on Tuesday in a statement that called for protection of aid workers. Outside Africa, Palestinians have been fleeing districts to the east of Gaza's second city of Khan Yunis after Israel issued evacuation orders. Overnight and into the morning, witnesses reported multiple Israeli strikes in and around Khan Yunis. A medical source and the Palestinian Red Crescent said 8 people had been killed and more than 30 wounded. Patients and medical staff have also been leaving the European Gaza hospital in the area as the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza told them to evacuate. The Israeli military has not itself issued an evacuation order for the hospital. The Red Cross is reported to have helped patients in the process of transferring to another hospital. In business news, the federal government has approved the exemption of small businesses, manufacturers and farmers from paying withholding tax as a way of reducing the tax burden on businesses. It also introduced key changes to the previous tax regime, such as reduction of rates for businesses with low margins and measures to curb evasion. The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform, Taiwo Oyedele, in a post on his official X handle on Tuesday morning, announced that President Bola Tinubu has approved the new withholding tax regime for the country, with the official gazette expected to be signed in the coming days. According to him, the erstwhile withholding tax system introduced in 1978 had challenges such as the ambiguity necessitated by the increase in transactions that it covered, thereby increasing the list of multiple taxes, inequity, straining the working capital of businesses with low margins, etc. And with that, we wrap it up on the news brief. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us from Limex on limex.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. Thank you for being there.
I will take you through this amazingness today.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bukky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
What we see and envy in other countries, we don't pay enough attention to how it is done. So, for example, people are always talking about, oh, we should tell African stories. I smile.
I'm one of those who says that.
I think that we should talk to ourselves first before we're even worried about what people are thinking about us. We overvalue the opinion of other people. We don't value ourselves. We don't value our people.
But isn't that why we should tell our own story?
To ourselves.
Yes, first.
You understand?
Yes.
So we won't be talking about telling African story because we didn't wake up this morning and think first and foremost I'm African. I think I'm Nigerian.
That's what I'm saying.
You understand? So in Nigeria,
yes,
first and foremost, we need to talk to ourselves. How do we talk to ourselves? What do we say to ourselves?
What's our reality?
So what does reality mean?
Reality.
And what lens are we looking at reality from?
The Nigerian digital lending industry is currently in a dire state, with both lenders and borrowers expressing concerns. The lenders, commonly known as loan app companies, are worried about the high levels of indebtedness among borrowers. Meanwhile, borrowers are lamenting the exorbitant interest rates, which are making it difficult for them to repay their loans and pushing them further into debt. Now, some of the loan apps currently offer annual percentage rates, APRs, ranging from 34% to 271%, with repayment periods of 3 to 24 months. While these rates are significantly higher than those charged by traditional banks, digital lenders argue that the risks involved in their lending model are also greater, and many of the customers may not be able to secure loans from banks. Furthermore, digital lenders reveal that a significant portion of the funds used to operate their lending businesses are borrowed from banks, with banks' interest rates already factored in. This suggests that the high costs are being passed on to the end consumers, contributing to the affordability challenges faced by the borrowers. In today's episode, we'll explore how soaring interest rates and rising non-performance loan or performing loans threaten the viability of loan app businesses in Nigeria. Welcome on board. I am Justin Nakadoni, your host. During the 2024 annual lecture of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, Professor Graham Penn advised the Nigerian government to reform the economic environment. Specifically, he recommended changes to enhance business ease and increase access to credit, two crucial factors for improving liquidity in the Nigerian economy. In his lecture, which focused on boosting credit availability, the professor emphasized the importance of clear regulations governing balance sheets and the regulatory impact of loan transfers for both lenders and borrowers. Members, fellows, and visitors converge on this hall. The CIBN Annual Lecture, a public policy forum established by the Institute, brings together stakeholders to participate in discussions on current economic matters. The focal point of the 2024 edition revolves around the expansion of the real economy, as access to credit in this sector is relatively limited compared to other regions. Stepping onto the stage, the president and chairman of the Institute Council addresses the audience, emphasizing the Institute's recognition of the crucial role that access to credit plays in driving economic growth and prosperity. The CIBN says it remains committed to promoting the availability of credit in Nigeria.
According to the survey report conducted in more than 40 economies and released by Statista, in 2024, nearly 141 trillion US worth of credit have been lent out to the real sector in advanced countries in the second quarter of the year. The figures were twice as high as the volume of credit to the same sector in emerging markets.
And the final wave of regulations have been pushed back.
Taking a historical perspective from the global financial crisis, the guest lecturer, Professor Graham Penn, an expert in international finance law from the University College London, highlights the importance of the secondary market in improving diversity in liquidity availability and credit risk transfer.
So the securitization that we see in the world today, post the global finance crisis, is completely different from the world that we saw before the global finance crisis. So the simple structures, I mean, you made a comment earlier about this being sexy. I don't see this as sexy at all. It's incredibly simple, it's incredibly basic, and the structures that are used are incredibly simple and incredibly basic.
The Lagos State government also speaks on the relevance of the lecture, particularly during a time when the nation's economy is undergoing re-engineering and restructuring. Other speakers shared their perspectives on the topic and its impact on both the supply and demand sides.
Therefore, there is no doubt about the fact that the theme of this year's lecture, improving availability of credit in the Nigerian real economy, the critical importance of liquidity, is apt as it speaks to one of the major imperatives for real growth and development. It also seeks to address one of the major impediments against the growth and survival of the real sector, especially
the agricultural and the manufacturing sectors.
The need for improved liquidity has led to a call from stakeholders for recapitalization of banks and their classification into three categories, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, to ensure institutional stability, liquidity, and strong global rating. To improve liquidity, there is need to improve asset and liability management.
Professor Penn further identifies additional challenges that need to be addressed to enhance credit availability, including confidentiality issues under Nigerian law and practice, as well as clear regulations governing securitization to facilitate the conversion of loans into tradable securities, among other measures. Justin Akadonye. Welcome back from that quick break. The chairman of the Money Lenders Association, the umbrella body of registered digital money lenders in Nigeria, Gbemi Adelekun, justified the high interest rates charged by loan apps. He explained that the rate reflects the cost of funds and technology used by these digital lenders. According to Adelekun, digital lenders do not receive deposits like banks, so they have to borrow money from banks to operate their businesses. However, it is important to know that some digital lenders are licensed as microfinance bank by the Central Bank of Nigeria and can therefore accept deposits, similar to commercial banks. I have a state surveyor and public affairs analyst, Mustafa Iwela, joining me now for more discussions on this. Thanks for joining me on Business Insight, Mustafa.
Thank you for having me, Justin.
All right, it is indeed our pleasure. You know, the situation is really, really alarming, and these lenders, they charge as much as 34% to 271%. That's the accumulative percentage they charge for their loans, which went from like 3 to 24 months. You know, in as much as they are trying to justify the fact that it's because of the high interest rates in the country, others don't see any reason why they can borrow as much as 2.5 million and be paying back over 6 billion naira after 24 months. How do you react to this?
Okay, thank you for having me, Justin. So it is very critical that we have this type of discussion at the front burner of our discussion today.
Yes.
In a time where Nigerians are going through a lot of hardship. Yes, so according to a certain report, as at April 2023, our, the money lending ratio declined from 4.5% to 4.1%. Also, our liquidity ratio as of May 2023 also increased from 44% to 48%.
Yes.
And this is above the normal 30% minimum recommended by the prudential requirement. So, it suffices to say that there's a lot of activities going on within our money lending sector, and everything rises and falls on the FCCPC, which is a regulatory body that governs that sector of the economy, which is the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. This commission is, of course, backed by law. I think sometimes in April 2018, and a lot of irregularities in that sector. As we speak, sometimes in May last year, the approved digital lenders by FCCPC, they are only about 284. And I think sometimes last year also about 34 of them were blacklisted for different purposes, for different reasons. So it's hard because most of all these money lenders, again, take loan from the banks. For whatever it takes, they also want to make profits, and they're also in the business to make money. So if our current interest rate with CBN is about 26.25%, so any money lending company also will want to make profits. So that's why you have customers or borrowers paying huge interest. I had a case of somebody who was to borrow 2.5 million. I had to pay about 6 million in total, which is about almost 4 million naira interest. Well, it's because of the situation we find ourselves. For whatever it takes, the CBN, the FCCPC needs to do a lot to, overall that sector. There's no way people won't borrow money. Currently, as we speak now, our non-performing loans with the SMEs is close to about 1.32 trillion. So the default rate is high, non-performing rate is alarming, and the reason for that is not far-fetched.
I know it is, but then, like you have said, it's just a situation in the country. But alternatively, now, what can Nigerians begin to do for those who really have genuine reasons for funds, and they need capital, to boost their business, their small business from point A to point B. What can they be doing when the microfinance bank said that ordinarily should be funding them and not really doing so much to meet their needs?
So let me say that it is insane for any businessman to go into any business without taking a loan. It is insane. You don't go into a business and invest all your personal funding into the business. In case, what if it goes wrong, then you're going to be bankrupt. So it is always very easier to share the risks between a microfinance or a commercial bank. It's easier, it makes life easy. So you make money, the bank is also making money. But why we have a lot of default rates is because of high interest rates. That's why it is very critical that we also differentiate between the approved digital lenders and the loan sharks. The loan sharks are the ones that will give you high interest rates under illegal conditions.
Yes,
so
that's very short terms.
Very short term.
To pay back.
And don't get it twisted. We have them in Nigeria. We have them in other climes too. But whatever it is only in Nigeria that people see taking loans as a shameful thing. It's not a shameful thing. It's a normal way of life in advanced countries.
Yes, they live on credit.
They live on credit. So in order for you to be credit worthy in advanced countries, you must have seen to be taking a loan and you must have paid off that loan successfully. That's when you become credit worthy in the eye of the government. That's when you have access to a lot of opportunities of bonuses from the government. But so here in Nigeria we see it as,
so loan in itself is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. It's a way of life. That's the honest truth. It's a way of life in advanced countries, and we need to also imbibe that in Nigeria. But one of the biggest issues that the ADLs are going through, the approved digital lenders are going through, is that a lot of people who cannot access loans from commercial banks due to bad credit are the ones that the ADLs are giving loans, and that's why they are putting high interest.
So since these people cannot get from the commercial banks or for deposit money banks now, so shouldn't that be like a red flag for these ADLs not to even give them, since knowing that they don't have character and integrity, as it were?
Okay, so your inability not to be able to pay off loans or to pay off your current loans with commercial banks or certain banks is a lot of business for some certain money lenders to this. So those ones, they focus on people who have bad credit.
By default, that they would extend their bad credit worthiness on credit worthiness.
Yes, they will extend it, but now, so that's where the FCCPC also comes in. So a lot of approved digital lenders will give you loans, and they know that you have bad credit. When you default, their mode of recovering the loan is very, very unprofessional.
True.
Some will go as high as tarnishing your image, your phone contact, and all that. But a lot of Nigerians don't even, when you apply for these loans, you just click accept, agree, agree, and those things you're agreeing to are agreement to say that if you default, we're going to access all your contact and tarnish your image. People don't read all the terms and conditions when applying for these loans. That's why when it looks like they're trying to recover that, but again, that's not a professional way to recover loans. I think normally if you're owing any bank, whether ADLs, the microfinance, the normal way is they take it to court. They get a court judgment, and there's a process called garnishee. They garnish your account. They put your account. There's BVN. They flag your BVN. Any money that goes into your account through all the banks that you use, they take off whatever you're owing them, and everybody goes in peace. Unlike the very shabby way of going after you in places and tarnishing your image on social media. That's a very shabby way of loan recovery. So again, taking a loan is not a bad thing. Our non-performing rate right now is really high. That's the truth. There are a lot of non-performing loans everywhere. Commercial banks, microfinance banks, even all the big names, all the big fish. But it's a situation of the country that we find ourselves. Our inflation rate is huge. Our interest rate is high. A lot is going on right now economically. So again, I think those are the Apex Bank needs to also do a lot to cushion this effect for Nigerians. Everybody wants to establish a business and make profits.
True.
Some businesses are currently at the verge of winding up as we speak because of the high interest rates of servicing loans. Those in the real estate sector are also complaining they can't even pay back loans. Go to a lot of projects abandoned, a lot of businesses abandoned. Some businesses are even thinking of leaving Nigeria to other countries because of the cost of servicing or running a company in Nigeria. So a lot again rises and falls on our government. Taking loans is not so a big deal, but the interest rate also I think needs to be reduced. If the commercial banks reduce their interest rate drastically, then microfinance bank also will reduce theirs too, because the commercial banks And I think everything also falls on the CBN. If the CBN now, just 2 months ago, the interest rate was increased to 26%. And, you know, so we don't know what's going to come in the next coming months. It might also be increased again. So these things trickle down. So, and I mean, again, it's the fault of the government, but we hope that something is done soon.
Okay, so now for businesses now who have challenges in performing with their loans and all that now, what would you really advise them? They have taken these loans, and as it is right now, you know, just because of policies and economic policies by the government, you know, their businesses have been impacted, and their working capital has reduced, and they are not really making so much out of their venture. So what do they need to do right now, in as much as they still have these loans to pay, and they don't really have the wherewithal? What would you advise them to do?
So what I think is doable is, I mean, for any business who has taken a loan and is struggling to pay back, I mean, it's simple. Sometimes there's what we call loan restructure. You can always call your account officer. You can always, you know, strike out a deal whereby you can restructure your loan, and you pay at a more longer tenor, and of course with another interest rate that will be easier for you to. So I mean, because if you have a loan that is running and you don't keep up with that loan, it's going to be difficult for you to access other loans from other commercial banks in the nearest future for other businesses. And as a businessman, that is not what you want to be going through. Our role model, the biggest businessman in Africa that we all look up to, Dangote, took a loan from his brother to start the company, and look at what Dangote has grown to be today. So I mean, it's about the paying back culture. I mean, a lot of us take loans with the mindset of not paying back. These loans are not national cakes, are not national. They are business money for businesses. So when you take loans, I have taken loans at some point in my life when I started my business, but I took up the habit of paying back, because I know that if you don't pay back, you might have you might get a invoice for a contract and you don't have the funds. How do you have to go to banks, and banks can help you get this loan sorted out, and you're able to execute properly. So, but if you don't, so some businesses actually don't have the capacity to pay back genuinely. Some have the capacity to pay back, but they don't just want
just don't want to pay back
for reasons best known to them. I think that's a bad way to run a business, because no matter what happens, you pay back one way or the other, because the person who has given you the money will come after you.
So speaking of legal means and everything, so for people now who genuinely need credit, it may be for personal reasons or maybe for some challenges that they have, what would you really advise them? How do they go about differentiating between the authorized money lenders and of course digital lenders, that is, and of course those loan sharks?
So the honest truth is, all these things are information that are in the public domain. The approved digital lenders as of May last year was, as we speak, is 284. The FCCPC said about 34, and unfortunately, some of those 34 people are still trading.
So how do they even get access to, as in, permission to trade?
So that's what I'm saying, that there's a lot of overhauling that needs to be done in that sector. The FCCPC needs to be more proactive. Once you have blacklisted someone, they do not have any legal right to still operate. Some even open loan apps that they're not licensed, and people patronize them, and they give
sometimes
them.
I hear they harvest your data that they even use for other illegal stuff.
Yeah, so a lot is going on in that sector, particularly from all this. That's why they call them loans. Some are legal, some are not legal. So that those that are not legal are called loan sharks. So that they operate under their own conditions, and nobody's regulating them. So again, it's very impossible for anybody not to, because I mean, we live in a country where nothing is certain. Your cost of living in a month is not certain. This month you can spend 100,000. Next month, the cost of living is going to 500,000. Nothing is certain. So every other time you need to assess these loans for you to keep up. But again, the habit of paying back is also very vital. People must pay back for these companies to remain in business. So, but for the loan, for the shabby ones who go after you, who post your pictures over the social media, I think that's very unprofessional, and the government needs to clamp down on them.
Okay, so as we round off now, what would your last word on this be for the government, for genuine borrowers, and of course the microfinance industry and general businessmen who want to really get access to credit?
So for the government, I think the government, particularly CBN, needs to do so much to reduce that interest rate. That interest rate is killing, and it's taking a ripple effect on every other sector of the country. For those who want to borrow genuinely, it's a good cause. Everybody, there's no genuine business owner who has not borrowed money from any bank at any point in time, and that's the way to even run a business. You don't go into a business with your personal funding. You if anything happens, you might go bankrupt. So share the risk. Let the bank, bring half of the money. You put in some equity. Then everybody smiles to the bank at once the project is executed. So that's the way to go. But again, the habit of paying back should also be imbibed. You should also pay back your loans. That's very critical.
All right. Okay, we must say a very big thank you to you, Mustafa, for all of the wonderful insight that you have brought on the show. We just hope that the needful will be done from the part of government, and of course, those who borrow should always want to pay back and not just borrow and just allow yourself to be chased about by this lenders. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
All right, that's the size of the show. We've been looking at access to credit and how it has impacted on small businesses, the household, and of course, even the lenders themselves. I was joined by Mustafa Iwenla. He is a real estate surveyor and a public affairs analyst. So we'll be right back again some other time. Many thanks for being a part of the show. My name is Justin Akadonye.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
Oftentimes when we see celebrities either on social media, television, or in person, we assume they have it all together, but we forget that they're also human. Well, here are some of the low points of some of your favorite celebrities.
Before I started doing music, I always knew it was something I wanted to do, but I think that it's important for people to know that being unsure of yourself, your skill, your ability, your strength is something that all artists go through. And I struggled for a time with live performances because I'm a little bit shy, and I really struggled even when I was in any kind of education. When I had to get on stage, whether I was in music school, I had to give a speech in public, it would just completely cripple me. And so I went through quite a few years of what I would call like hardcore street training, and that would involve busking. So busking is when you just pick a street corner, when I lived in London, and just start singing to people. And it's difficult, it's harder than it looks because people are walking past you. Think about it, your whole life, your friends and family you have a beautiful voice. Every time you open your mouth, someone's like, yay! But when you're busking on a street corner, people are walking by, they don't really care, they don't really pay attention. But that really helped me to build my confidence and to face music. Even though you're performing for people, it's important to know they're also performing for yourself. So I got to a point where I was like, you know what, as long as I sing my absolute best and give it my all, if people are watching or not, I'm still aware of the value of what I'm bringing. So that's what I would say. You must really grow your inner strength and your inner belief in yourself and what you're able to give. Don't give up, just keep going. And in time, someone will notice.
Before I finally got this fame, I used to go for countless auditions. I've been beaten by the rain, I've had my money stolen, I've walked long distances just to go for auditions, and at the end of the day, it paid off. Some of those auditions I went for, I never got called back, but look at me now, I'm grateful to God. It's been an amazing journey. It was, it was a good time. So yeah, that is my celebrity story.
Before Brother Shaggy gained recognition, I've gone through a lot. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. When my father died, I had to leave Ogun State to Lagos to start a new life with my mom. Then I started working as an actor to make money while I was in school. I was in Unilag. I started playing drums, I started dancing, I started singing just to make money to finish school. Then when I got out of school, I was looking for, what to do because I know I'm talented. People say I'm talented, but I just want to, make a difference. I started making skits. So I had different characters before Brother Shaggy. I had Akoni Badon, I had Professor Dele, I had Inspector Perry. But I just wanted to do something different, something people haven't done before. So I started this Agbero character. When I started it, my first skit was all about Jesus. I was asked in my first skit that if Jesus should come to Mushin, what will I do? So that was how the skits, got recognized everywhere. And I thank God for today that I've been able to change my story, change my family's story.
At the beginning stages of my career, living in Atlanta, just being someone that just loved the art of music, wanted to write songs for people. I remember going to different rooms and meeting different producers and not actually given a chance to go into actual studio rooms. I would hang out in like the couch living areas outside, right? Hoping that somebody notices me, hoping that I can get someone's attention to play them something I've recorded in the past, to get a chance to get in the room. This happened like many years, but one thing for me was I never stopped. I remember an incident, a guy named Kevin Shine in Atlanta, just saw me sitting on the couch. He was like, yo, bro, what do you do? I'm a singer, songwriter. He's like, let me hear what you do, right? I played him what I had at the moment. This was after many months of going back and forth to the same studio. This was a place where all the big stars come. Playing him one of the songs I had, it was pretty decent, it was okay. But he heard something in me that made him introduce me to somebody else, right? I met another amazing producer that did a lot of big records for Case. This guy, his name is Kenneth Smooth. He produced Touch Me, Tease Me by Case, old record. A lot of R. Kelly records back in the days, veteran producer. From that I met somebody else, I met someone else, right? I think this life is a journey. You can't doubt yourself at the beginning stages. Nobody sees your vision, right, except you.
This was probably 2008, and I had the opportunity to work with one of the biggest artists at that time. I'm not going to mention names for obvious reasons. So we made a song on his album, and I thought, this was going to be a great look for me. And I mean, I officially started producing 2007, so this was a year after, and he was the second biggest artist I was working with at that time, so it was a big deal for me. And we made a song. The song was a vibe. I was looking forward, to the album and everything. And album came out, songs on the album. Then I was excited, got the CD, went home, played the song, and the song was reproduced by a different producer. I was so heartbroken because I've been telling all my friends that, I produced this song on the album, I produced this song on the project, and people were already congratulating me. Then I heard it was a different beat by another popular producer, that was obviously way popular than I was at that time. So, I mean, I was obviously heartbroken, and a friend of mine asked this artist why he did that. And in his words, he said, "Share to Kojaye," which means my work has passed that level, that I was probably too not relevant enough, to work with at that point. Anyway, today I'm SARS, and it's not here today. So keep moving, believe in yourself, you'll get there.
Talk my mind, oh. For anyone we feel relate, oh. Reading Makula, sometimes it feels like success is a trap. And sometimes it feels like people don't understand. Cause the pressure plenty and the expectations high. Even your day ones were supposed to get your back. Sometimes they ones they fight. And everybody has an opinion on how you supposed to live your life. And even people were supposed to show you the way. Now the people they backbite. No be pride, no be ego. Sometimes I gotta change my mind. Sometimes I gotta stay behind. Sometimes I would have to say no. Sometimes I got forward down top my head. May this pressure no go drive me insane, no. So if you see me outside and I no greet you, no vex, Papa, my head is full, oh. And Baba, you know the level. Now this house is like this, Now this house is like this, also can be so overwhelming sometimes. No, I just enjoy my own. I got so many things that the reason no bother me. One iru pala o kongolele. Ikilo setani ko sherio. Cause family go call, enemy go call. I don't know who is who. No be pride, no be ego. Sometimes I gotta stay away when I have nothing to say. Sometimes I will have to say no. Sometimes I got some water on top my head. And this pressure don't go drive me insane, no. So if you see me for sure and I don't greet you, no vex, Baba, my head is full, oh. And Baba, you know the level. Like this hustle, like this. Now this hustle like this. Of course, them say they bump us. Yeah, cause I put myself first. Whoa, they say they bump us. Yeah, it's all love, brother, yeah, it's all love. Whoa, it's all love, my brother, it's all love. And I'm good with it.
Dr. Dollar Entertainment.
I got that all the bad things you making me do.
Flip the music. Na 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 na, don't stop, no, don't stop. Come close to me, baby, no, don't stop. I want this daily. I've fallen in love, I cannot deny. Boy, you wanna treat me. I tried to go low, low, low. You got me going low, low, low. Oh, yeah. Now, cause I did one side for you. Don't lie, be so fast, very fast around you. Oh, you did make I go insane. So insane. Oh, you did make I go insane. So insane. I go set your body, forget everybody. If you fall hard on the pot, yeah, do. I found the one I need, for this I'll never leave. It's for a lifetime, maybe so. I tried to go low, low, low. You got me going low, low, low. Oh, yeah. When I'm with you, oh, no, no.
stamina.